You know, they had a lot of energy, and that's the only thing I can think of. Because I do have a schedule that a lot of people, even I have these young people traveling with me, secure, they can't handle it. I mean, you know, after...
Tell me about it. I know all about it. My staff would agree with that one. No, but I happen to know that you like meatloaf. I know it's on your menu. It's called Donald's favorite dish. It must be your diet, Donald.
That's true. Well, I have meatloaf. I like the basics. I like the basics in life. But we're going to have a great... You know, look, I'm having a good time doing it. You know what I'm seeing, Mike? I'm seeing tremendous love. People want to see the country come back. They're so tired of losing. We never win anymore. If you think of it, do we ever win? We lose on trade. We lose on ISIS. We lose on the Iran deal. We never win.
No, when you have a loser in the White House, you lose on everything. Look, Donald, this is the thing. We know that you're going to win the Republican campaign, or whatever it's called, and you're going to debate Hillary. Do you feel that you can really get to her no matter, because you know it's going to be stacked against you? Do you feel you can defeat her in the final series of debates?
Republican, but you know, numbers are coming out where I'm beating her in all these states. They just had 3 or 4 states come out where I'm beating her in all the states. I mean, I'm doing really well against her individually. I'm doing well against the field, the Republican field, which I have to beat. In all fairness, I have to beat the Republican field. Unfortunately, I have to beat them first before I get to her. But I'm doing really well. I'm leading in every poll, leading in just about every state. I think every state. So we're going to, you know, keep your head down, because it's still a long way to go. Not so long, though. You know, it was a year, and now there were 6 months, and now it's literally less than 90 days before you get to Iowa. And
Donald, last question. We learned that Russia is sending in 150,000 brave Russian troops to crush them like bugs. How do you feel about that?
I think that Russia has been amazing in what they're doing, because they're fighting to win. They're fighting to win. And if you remember what I said weeks ago, I said, look, if Russia wants to bomb ISIS, let them. We had these people, these stupid people that said, oh, well, we want to take the lead. Who the hell cares who takes the lead? Let them spend their money. They've got bogged down in Afghanistan. They got bogged down before. It broke up this. You know, people don't realize. It broke up the Soviet Union, okay?
Yep.
They got so bogged down there. That's what happened to the Soviet. They ran out of money. Let them go and bomb. I think it's wonderful that they bomb ISIS, and it's great. And now it turned out I was right. You know, I was 100% right. But let them, you know, when they knocked down the Russian aircraft, that was a mistake, I want to tell you, because he's not fighting a war the way Obama fights the war, you know, little pinpricks. He is really bombing the hell out of them. So,
Donald, before you go, I've got to give you something for the campaign trail, because I do this for a living. We read the other day that the U.S. bombed 118 ISIS fuel trucks, and I said, great, there's been a change finally from Obama. But then I read the fine print. Do you know that he made the Air Force drop leaflets telling the ISIS truck drivers to get out, that bombs were going to fall? Did you know that? Does anyone know that he did that?
No, I'd never heard that. I think, I don't look. What?
I'm going to send you Donald, I got to send you the article, because this is something for your campaign trail. This is going to make people think twice about this guy. This is not as clear as it may be of he's just a pacifist or a liberal. There's something more here, Donald. At least we in the talk radio sphere see that. I won't take up any more of your time other than to say, go, Donald, go. We're behind you 100%, and we hope that you go all the way.
I will, and I'll do my best, and hopefully I'll get it there, and you'll be very proud of me. I'll tell you what, we will have lots of victories together, but we're going to have lots of victories, that I can tell you.
Thank you, Donald Trump. Good luck. God be with you. Be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com. I ask myself, how did this happen? What are the children of America going to inherit when you have a lunatic like this in the White House, opening the floodgates, flooding America with the third world? I don't mind the third world if you bring in people from the third world who can contribute to the country. But you bring in deadbeats, you bring in criminals, you bring in terrorists amongst them. And only one man is talking about it like that, and that's Donald Trump. So we all cheered Donald Trump, didn't we? When he said he would close the floodgates. And he would not admit the flotsam and jetsam of the world. He'd be very selective. We even cheered him when he said he would deport the illegals, which I don't agree with, by the way. I'll go on record again. I do not agree with him. It's never going to happen. It's simply for the campaign trail. He could have said what I say in Government Zero in one of my 40 points to save America, which is deport the illegal aliens who are in prison. 1/3 of the prison population, about 28-30%, are illegal aliens. Deport them. Start the buses running that way with them. And don't start with the families. Because if you start with the criminals, you'll see a giant sucking sound going south because many of their families are here, even though they're here. Donald Trump could have said that. I disagree with him on that. But we cheered him when he said he would deport illegal aliens because no one else dares even say what he would do to stop the flood. In fact, if you look at the Republican candidates, they're all in favor of open borders, with the exception of Ted Cruz. Rubio's an open borders ice cream man. Fiorina lost the election when she ran for the governor here because she was in favor of open borders. I'm surprised no one brought that up. But don't start in with the hitting him below the belt. So I'm going to act like the referee now in a boxing match. And I'm saying that Trump gets penalized for that low blow. He's been given a warning and 1 point's been taken away from him. There are boxers who hit below the belt by accident, by the way. Then there are boxers who hit below the belt on purpose. He did this by accident. And the proof will be he won't do it again. That's the whole purpose of this exercise on today's show, which is I am trying to send a message to my good friend, my candidate, Donald Trump, saying, don't do it again, Donald. You're bleeding people who will vote for you. They're not going to follow you on this, down this road. They don't like this. Nobody hates Ben Carson. Can you tell me anyone who hates Ben Carson? Can you name one person you know who hates Ben Carson? I never met anyone who doesn't like him. Of course, the vermin in the media attacked Ben Carson viciously once he became a serious candidate. And now, of course, they're all defending Ben Carson because he's Donald Trump's opponent. So the Salenterates in the media, they hated Ben Carson. They made a mockery of him. All the great liberals, guess who's coming to dinner? And all that. No one dislikes Ben Carson. Nobody dislikes him. Now, what's astonishing to me is that Ben Carson would humiliate himself a while ago on going that idiotic show, Meet the Depressed, with the garbage man's son, whoever runs it now. It used to be run by the garbage man's son. Who runs it now? Upchuck Todd, the guy with the beard. He grew the beard to look intellectual. Upchuck Todd, a stooge of the Clinton administration, has Ben Carson on, and he seduces Carson to say things. The media is the devil. If you look at the wreckage in America today, don't blame Obama, blame the media, because they created Obama and they let him get away with this. They enabled him. They're enablers. They're enablers. They're all sick puppies. You talk about pathological. The media consists of the most pathological people in America outside of mental institutions are considered respected members of the media, in my estimation. Now, that would have been a valid statement to make by Donald Trump. He could have talked about them that way and suggested castration for the members of the media who have castrated America's values, but he didn't do that. My point is not to attack Donald Trump. It's to steer Donald Trump away from these icebergs. Whoever is advising him to go on the attack against Carson should be fired. And I tell you, as I stand here, Donald Trump is very sensitive to criticism. He will hear what I am saying today. I wanted to get to him. And this criticism is offered as a message of peace. He should have attacked Hillary. He should have attacked Obama. He should have attacked liberalism. He should have talked about the losers on the college campuses who are running wild in the streets. He should have talked about ISIS and what he would do when he becomes president. Should have been talking about every damage that Mr. Obama has done to this country. Zero leadership, zero strategy against ISIS, zero military, zero education. This is the savage nation.
Warning. The Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of unprotected thought, borders, language, culture. And here he is, Michael Savage.
It is the Savage Nation. The House approved a Syrian refugee screening bill defying the thin man's threat of a veto, right? The smoking thin man threatened the Congress. How dare you want to screen those Syrians? We want them all in here. He threatened to veto the smoking thin man, but they went ahead anyway, and they defied him. And you want to hear something interesting? Dozens of Democrats joined majority Republicans in defiance of the smoking thin man's veto threat. The measure to increase screening for Syrian and Iraqi refugees, which makes common sense, passed on a 289 to 137 vote, representing a veto-proof majority. It now goes to the Senate. Now, of course, that's another story. 47 Democrats, in a significant rebuke of the smoking thin man, defected to support the bill, ignoring the smoking thin man's appeals to oppose it. Ahead of the vote, the White House had lobbied strongly against the bill, sending Chief of Staff Dennis McDonough and Homeland Security Secretary Jed Johnson to the Capitol in an attempt to jawbone Democratic lawmakers from joining Republicans. But they did anyway. Among them, Representative Sean Maloney, Democrat New York, said Thursday that people are understandably frightened and the administration should bring a better argument on such a toxic issue. That's shocking. Now, what does the bill actually do? It would require the FBI director to certify a background investigation for each refugee and several top security officials, including the DHS secretary, to certify that each refugee is not a security threat to the U.S. before a refugee from Iraq or Syria can be admitted. Now, on the eve of this vote, the White House, in the form of the angry, hostile, anti-American, smoking thin man, issued a formal veto threat, saying that the current screening process was excellent. Nothing needs to be done. Of course, we all know the country's security is at stake. We all know this is a compassionate nation. But we also must remember that our first priority is to protect ourselves. That's their job, by the way. Now, Republicans brought the bill to the House floor less than a week after the bombings and shootings killed 129 people in Paris, wounding almost 500. The worst attack on France's soil since World War II, done by Muslims in the Islamic State. It's good news. Actually, that's very good news. It goes to the Senate now because in the House of Representatives, they have a veto-proof majority because enough Republicans realized they're not getting reelected if they stand with the smoking thin man. If they continue to stand with the smokingly hateful thin man who is likely deranged, they're going to be thrown out of office because the American people know what needs to be done to protect them, at least decreasing the risks of getting hit by one of them. It's that simple. This came to me on Facebook. I can't read it to you. It's very long, but I'll read a few paragraphs from a man named, well, the code name is Magnus Carta, which obviously refers to the Magna Carta. And those of you who know history know what the Magna Carta is. It was the progenitor of our Bill of Rights and our Constitution in many ways. But nevertheless, his headline is, Michael Savage and Donald Trump are true heroes and guiding lights in a time of darkness. But listen to this. He writes this, Dr. Savage is banned from my country, but he is in good company. Did you know that Winston Churchill was banned from the BBC in the 1930s for warning about the threat of the Nazis? Like Churchill, Dr. Savage will be vindicated and remembered as a great man long after his naysayers have been long forgotten. Unfortunately, we're not living in a time of truth, but a time of feelings and of not offending anyone. What would be common sense in a sane age is seen as controversial in a time of political insanity and knee-jerk liberalism. And he goes on, and he talks about why people who have studied Islam in detail have to put up being called names by ignorant morons who know everything about football or reality TV but nothing about the real world. He said it's understandable why people do not speak out. Many people have Muslim friends, or they went to school with Muslims or work with them. And he's writing from Britain. They had a Muslim doctor look after them. Or they know the guy from the grocery store. And they are all nice, peaceful people. So although many people understand what is going on, they don't want to offend anyone, while others are just ill-informed, ignorant, and choose not to believe it. To understand radical Islam, you should start by understanding the founder and prophet of Islam. Muhammad was no Jesus or